pulling and pushing. We're just trying to get some sort of internal movement. Just how gentle can you make it? I'm trying to feel the absolute difference between me and the stick. So I am alive and full of movement, and the stick is dead. But slowly the stick feels as though it's taking on my qualities. So I can feel movement inside the stick. It's trying to bend. So we are living and we are conscious. And that means we're completely different than all of the inanimate objects that surround us. Okay, let's try some twisting. And just a few tipping. Sinking. Establishing the dantian as the gravitational center of the body, streaming through the body. And just coming to the breathing, the thing that marks our livingness. Not necessarily the breathing through the lungs, but here, the breathing with the legs. The sense that one is breathing in as the other one is breathing out. I very much want to feel the two-ness of my body, the dual aspect, the left side, the right side. These two sides doing their own thing and cooperating. I don't want to seize up across here in order to bring myself to some sense of unity. So I am two sides, left and right, and they alternate. As one fills, the other one empties. My legs are interacting with the ground. The full one is filling from the ground. The emptying one is emptying into the ground. I want to feel that exchange. Filling leg, it fills with the ground. It doesn't fill with me. I come into it to pull the ground up into me, to my Danshan. So a sense of feeding, you've gone to the water hole, you're drinking. So the ground is flowing up into me as I bring my weight into the leg. So we want to feel gravity as much arising, the ground coming up into me as it is me going down into the ground. There's the same thing, really, just seen from the other side. We have to just try and remain aware. What we want to do all the time is as soon as we set something up, then we tend to think about other things, or we get into it in the wrong way. I want to feel every millimeter. and feel yourself tending to tighten around an idea, around a form. That's what the mind loves doing. The mind loves seeing patterns. And then it just becomes the repetition of a pattern rather than a real movement. And we'll only really get it wrong if we somehow congeal into this oneness, which we call ego or self. Because all I'm trying to do really is just keep the two halves of my body as separate as possible. In the first place it will tighten is around the sacrum. So the sacroiliacs will tend to tighten up and then into the hips. Okay, so let's bring it into riding horse. Feel this open. The joints should feel like there's air in them. There's a cushion of air inside each joint, especially the hips and the sacroiliacs. So I'm not one thing that happens to branch out. I'm two things that happen to temporarily come together. And just getting your mind around that, what sort of mind would I have to have not to resist that all the time? We're trying to look back, we're trying to think without an ego. And it's really just using the mind in this very observant, attentive way, just watching everything and being interested by everything that's happening. And now let's try the tree. So coming down the body and letting it, something in me has to let go to allow it to pop across from the sacrum into the hip bones and then down the legs. And when it comes together, there's a sense of the two, they sort of coil around each other. But then again, they have to split to get across into the arms, the shoulders and the arms. So just relax across the sacrum. So as we repeat and maintain some sort of attention and vigilance, then we feel that sense of being squeezed, that atmospheric pressure, this feeling that what I'm doing is actually being resisted very subtly by this living force, very elastic. Bring it into order. So we want to feel as though we have a relationship with the air, with the atmosphere. There's a sense that there's a livingness surrounding you that's squeezing and caressing. So we really need to wake up to the livingness of where we are. And it's very difficult in our man-made environments because basically there's very little life there. They're all artifacts that have very little life and very little energy. So if I can bring myself to an intensity of awareness and attention, then I can invest the things that I encounter with a little bit of my own spirit, my own life force. So that's what we're doing when we're working with the stick. By treating it respectfully and gently, slowly the stick seems to come alive. That's certainly what we want to feel with the ground we're standing on. Now let's try turning with it, opening and closing. So when I can invest a little bit of my own life energy into the ground, then the ground stops being so hard, starts to feel a little spongy, so absorbent, permeable, and also springy. So our normal mind basically pushes the world away. It keeps like a buffer zone around us. So if I can just stay attentive, then everything will come in, everything will crush in. Feel the back leg injecting into the ground and feel the ground injecting up your full leg. Just imagine that person behind you with their hands on your shoulders. Because all they're really trying to do is apply enough pressure so that no slack can come into the system. It's because we're always trying to create that space for the mind to think. So we'll tend to push up. Riding horse again. And moving side to side again, but now feeling the reach and the scoop. So I bring the ground up this leg. That enables me to sit on that pillar. And then the other one can release and reach out and scoop down and under. This is difficult because something in you has to intensify to create the image. It's a bit like when we reach out with our little toes. And the difficulty is releasing sacroiliac and the hip. This sense of a tentacle having reached out of the sacrum down the leg and claimed the ground, pulled the ground towards me, or me towards the ground. And then back to the riding horse. Sinking. Endless pressure. So they're very similar, the sinking, this sort of grim feeling of, oh no, not this again, to that sense of being squeezed by the atmosphere. Sense that I'm being pressed into my bones, into my core, into my marrow. If you sink, you can't think. If you find yourself thinking, especially thinking in words, then something in you must have got tense and come up from the ground. You're no longer streaming. Gravity streams down through me. The earth is streaming up through me. And I have this stream of awareness as time passes. Nothing to do with the stream of consciousness, which is normally, people use that to describe the endless chatter in the head. It's the opposite of that. Feel the wings coming out of your shoulders, out of your shoulder blades. Feel the wings coming out of your sacroiliacs. It's like the energy legs and the energy arms. So if we can just remain quiet, but really burn with awareness and attentiveness, then we realize we're quite different than what we normally think we are. So we have all these energetic structures that Don works so hard at describing. Let's just bring the feet up a bit. And now just reaching. Very much this sense of on the prowl. So slow. So the work we do invites the sinking and invites the atmosphere. Feel the legs. This leg is basically behaving like this arm. I want to get away from the sense of me, this articulated body with these joints. I'm much more squeezing a tentacle out. I'm extending a tentacle of energy down the arm, but also down the leg. Now I'm using the mind not simply to watch what's happening, but to intend it. Something in me has to intensify in order to extend this tentacle out. Imagine the octopus, it sees something that it wants to grab, so its mind will go to the thing that it sees, and then its arm, its tentacle will just reach. That's the sense that we want, but we want to feel it coming from the core. So I'm squeezing something out of myself. I don't have to have my mind beyond me. It's a very primitive movement, like the movement of the octopus or like an amoeba or slime mold, the way it sort of breaks open and pours out, endlessly bleeding. So something in me splits open and my hand just pours out of that. So that means that the part of me that's touching the world is just so raw and sensitive. And there's so much information available to it. But the problem with any sort of internal work is, how are you getting feedback? So when we do something, we tend to judge it by how good it makes us feel, not simply in terms of sensations, but how good does it make us feel about ourselves? Do we feel somehow empowered by the action? That's what we want to get away from. We're just bleeding, we're just weeping all the time. There's no sense of getting into yourself or getting into the exercise. You're just with that bleeding edge. This is what's so difficult. That requires real maturity, I suspect, because you don't see it anymore. And then just back to riding horse. Again, just imagine you've got your hands on someone's head. You're not feeling them, and you're certainly not doing anything. You're not manipulating. You're simply bleeding. listening. And when you get it right, the sense is not so much that you're giving them a treatment, but that they're giving you one. Because, of course, if you're touching their head, then their head is touching your hands. And now let's just try some in bow and arrow. So pushing forwards and pushing back, straightening the back leg and straightening the front leg. So yield, I yield here, here, and then I attack, yield, attack. Yielding takes me into the leg, attack springs me out of the leg. Yielding takes me into the same leg. If I'm yielding with my left hand, it takes me into my left foot, and attack is coming out of that into the opposite hand. I straighten the leg, and then I start moving forwards by bending the front leg. And then I continue that by straightening the back leg. And then I start bending the back leg. And then I straighten the front leg. Feel the turns. It's coming forward is difficult. So when I come forward, when I yield with the front hand and the front leg, it turns me. So whenever you yield, you turn towards the foot you're coming into. So yielding with my left hand, grabbing this ground with my left foot, turns me to the left. And then the attack is me just releasing that, springing back to the other side for us, instant ping. So it's very much like the energy flying off as a tangent to your circle. So wah, it's got that reverse punch feel. So I come into the front foot and then I come out of it. just for a moment, not enough to turn me to this corner. And then going into the back foot, I'm turning to my right here. And then I spring back using the front leg in order to flick the energy off. Yielding, taking the energy down, and then for an instant it springs up and back, and then yielding here and ping. And then a bit with the other foot. Okay, and then with my rubbery, fleshy quality, almost like the bones don't exist. And now let's just try straightening and bending the leg, but straightening by getting a sense that you're squeezing it long and then just allowing it to contract. So I squeeze, the leg lengthens a little bit, and then I suck in and it contracts. Squeezing the leg and sucking it back in. And then just let it build up a little bit of speed. So we feel it like a breathing or a pump. Extend, contract, extend, contract. Feel it turning in. It turns me one way, turns me back. And then knocking the gates of life. So extending, contracting. Now let's just bring it down. straightening a leg. Just swapping around. Let's just try a bit of this one that I always want to do, but I'm not sure people would manage it. You're just lying down on your back and just cycling, really trying to get into the hips, into the groin. So I think it's very important to have some sort of leg exercise where you're not actually supporting your weight. And this is ideal. It's a good way to start the day. And you can really sort of just rock the sacrum and the hip girdle, twisting the feet. It's nice doing it with another person as well, with your feet touching, cycling into each other. Okay. So the feet feel quite different now. Let's try some stepping. Figure of 8. around the hips, extending my little toe. Something in me has to intensify to squeeze this little toe out. It's like being able to control your anger. Something in me has to get a little bit angry. People just can't do this. People live these very sort of flat lives, emotionally flat, but full of sensation, full of pleasures, but no real intensity. But people find it difficult to muster the energy. They find the feeling difficult, and they certainly find the come down difficult. So that feeling of absolute exhaustion that you will always get when you've really used your spirit with intensity. So something here. And then just step with it. And then the other way. Okay, good. And then let's just try some figure of eight. Figures of eights in the arms, but also inside the feet. So as I go under the figure of eight, I'm going around my heel. As I go over the figure of eight, I'm going around my toes. And then this one, same thing really. It's just a bit more delicate. And then winding it down. So you've got these figures of eight still going on in the feet. You've still got the sinking, of course. You've still got the atmospheric pressure. And this sense that the pressure you're under is bleeding you, it's squeezing you. This weather's good for it because it's so hot. You just sweat all the time. So there's a sense that your pores are bleeding. Okay.